The price of protection. The Meridian's crystalline spires reached toward the amber sky of Proxima Vii, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. For centuries, these towers had stood as monuments to the Asteri's dedication to peace and scientific advancement. Now, they served as backdrop to humanity's most ambitious military operation since leaving Earth. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the command center of the TNS Harbinger, watching as the next wave of Kritak warships emerged from hyperspace. The savage species had been systematically destroying peaceful civilizations across the galaxy, harvesting resources, and leaving shattered worlds in their wake. The Asteri, with their advanced theoretical physics but minimal defensive capabilities, were next on their list. Status report, Chen demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Kritak fleet composition unchanged, Admiral. 37 capital ships, roughly 200 support vessels, Lieutenant Rodriguez replied. They're maintaining their standard attack formation. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The Kritak were predictable. It would be their undoing. When the Asteri had first reached out to Earth for protection, many in the United Earth government had questioned the wisdom of committing resources to defend a species they barely knew. But Chen had seen the potential immediately. The Harbinger shuddered as another volley of Kritak energy weapons impacted their shields. Outside the view screen, Earth's experimental Aegis-class destroyers moved into position, their hybrid tech incorporating principles of Asteri physics that had transformed human understanding of space-time manipulation. Launch Operation Checkmate, Chen ordered. Across the battlefield, human ships began executing a maneuver that would have been impossible just months ago. The destroyers created localized space-time distortions, trapping portions of the Kritak fleet in temporal bubbles where time moved at a fraction of normal speed. Meanwhile, Earth's carriers launched swarms of automated fighters, their pilots safely controlling them from vast distances using quantum entanglement principles learned from the Asteri. The Kritak never stood a chance. Their rigid tactical doctrine, evolved over centuries of overwhelming force, had no counter for humanity's adaptive strategy. Within hours, their fleet was in ruins, their surviving ships retreating in disarray. In the aftermath, as damage reports flooded in and medical ships began their grim work, Chen received a priority communication from the Asteri High Council. Their eldest, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, appeared before her. Admiral Chen, the eldest's thoughts resonated directly in her mind. We are overwhelmed by the sacrifice your people have made on our behalf. The debt we owe is something we can discuss later, Chen interrupted smoothly. Right now, we need to focus on establishing a permanent defensive perimeter and beginning joint research projects to improve our shared technologies. The eldest's energy patterns shifted in what Chen had learned to recognize as surprise. You wish to continue our collaboration, even after such losses. Chen's expression remained carefully neutral. The Kritak will return, eldest. They always do. And when they come back, they'll find humanity and the Asteri standing together. After all, she added, allowing herself a small smile, that's what friends are for. As the eldest's image faded, Chen turned back to the tactical display. The battle had been costly, dozens of ships damaged, hundreds of casualties. But the real victory wasn't in the ships they'd destroyed or the lives they'd saved. It was in the doors this alliance would open, the technologies they would develop together, and the position it would give humanity in a greater galactic community. The Asteri thought they owed humanity a debt. They had no idea that humanity was playing a much longer game. Calculated kindness. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Vii, the true scope of humanity's strategy began to unfold. Within the newly constructed joint research facility orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic display that showed the integration of Asteri theoretical models with human practical engineering. The breakthrough wasn't in the technology itself. She explained to the gathered delegation of Earth's military and scientific leadership. It was in understanding how the Asteri think about spacetime. Their mathematical models were perfect, but they never considered weaponizing them because it went against their cultural beliefs. General Marcus Wright, the grizzled veteran who had overseen the defensive strategy for the Asteri system, leaned forward. And now? Now we have ships that can create localized time dilation fields strong enough to tear a dreadnought in half, Maya replied, manipulating the hologram to show their latest prototype. The Asteri helped us refine the calculations, thinking we were developing better defensive systems. They weren't wrong. We just saw applications they never imagined. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had gained access to technology that would have taken them centuries to develop on their own. More importantly, they had done it in a way that maintained their image as noble protectors while advancing their own interests. In the diplomatic wing of the facility, Ambassador James Chen, no relation to the Admiral, was engaged in equally important work. The Asteri's gratitude had opened doors throughout the galaxy. Species that had previously dismissed humanity as primitive upstarts now sought trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The collective has expressed interest in opening negotiations, his aide reported, referring to a coalition of advanced species that had long dominated galactic politics. They're impressed by our handling of the Kritak threat. Chen nodded, keeping his expression neutral despite his satisfaction. The collective had ignored humanity's previous attempts at diplomatic contact, viewing them as too technologically and culturally immature for meaningful interaction. Now, they were coming to humans. Schedule the preliminary talks, he instructed, and make sure Admiral Chen's report on the neural interface improvements is included in the briefing materials. Back on Proxima VI, the integration of human and Asteri society continued. Where once the crystalline spires had stood in isolation, now they were joined by human architectural elements. Practical, sturdy structures that complemented the Asteri's ethereal aesthetic. In the markets and meeting places, humans and Asteri mingled freely, each learning from the other. Admiral Chen, overseeing the combined defense fleet, received regular updates on these developments. Each report confirmed what she had argued for from the beginning. The Asteri weren't just allies to be protected. They were the key to humanity's ascension. The Kritak have been spotted in the Carina sector, her tactical officer reported, 3 systems away from their last known position. Good, Chen replied. Make sure the Asteri Defense Council receives this information. They'll want to accelerate the production of our new hybrid vessels. The officer hesitated. Ma'am, some of the Asteri scientists have begun asking questions about the military applications of their theoretical work. Chen smiled. Let them ask. By the time they understand the full implications, we'll have become too valuable to them to object. Besides, she added, looking out at the combined fleet exercises taking place beyond the station, everything we've done has been to protect them. The fact that it serves our interests as well doesn't make that any less true. In the depths of space, human ships now patrol alongside Asteri vessels, their crews working together with increasing efficiency. The Asteri provided insights into the fundamental nature of reality, while humans showed them how to apply that knowledge. It was a partnership that was reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy, one discovery at a time. And in the secure chambers of Earth's Strategic Planning Division, the next phase was already being prepared. The Kritak threat had given humanity its opportunity. The Asteri's gratitude had given them access to advanced technology. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do with both. The counter-offer. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Collective buzzed with tension as representatives from 100 species gathered for what many believed would be a routine debt settlement. 1 year had passed since the decisive victory over the Kritak, and the Asteri had formally requested permission to repay their debt to humanity through traditional means: technology transfers, resource rights, and military assistance. No one expected humanity's response. We decline the offered compensation, Ambassador James Chen announced to the stunned assembly. His words, translated simultaneously into dozens of languages, caused an immediate uproar. In the history of galactic diplomacy, no species had ever rejected a formal debt repayment. The collective's high mediator, a towering Zentvar with iridescent scales, raised all four hands for silence. Ambassador Chen, perhaps you misunderstand the scale of what is being offered. The Asteri are prepared to grant humanity access to technology centuries beyond your current level. Chen's smile never wavered. We understand perfectly. However, we have an alternative proposal. He activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing a map of unexplored space beyond the galaxy's outer rim. There are regions out there that the collective has deemed too dangerous or unprofitable to explore. We want exclusive rights to those sectors. The chamber erupted again, this time with laughter. The mediator's scales shifted to a deep blue of amusement. You wish to trade guaranteed technological advancement for the right to explore empty space. Not empty, Chen corrected, zooming in on specific coordinates. Our deep space probes have detected anomalies consistent with ancient artifacts, the kind that predate even the oldest species in this chamber. The laughter died. The mediator's scales shifted to a wary green. Everyone knew the legends of the precursors, the mysterious species that had supposedly achieved technological supremacy before vanishing without trace. Their artifacts, the few that had been found, contained technological secrets that had transformed entire civilizations. And how? The mediator asked carefully, did your probes penetrate the quantum interference fields that have prevented all previous exploration attempts? Admiral Chen, standing quietly behind her brother, stepped forward. Because we combined Asteri theoretical physics with human determination. We don't just want to study these artifacts. We want to establish permanent research outposts, with Asteri help. The implications hit the assembly like a gravitational wave. Humanity wasn't just rejecting traditional compensation. They were proposing a continued partnership that would give them, and the Asteri, exclusive access to potentially game-changing technologies. In orbit above Earth, Dr. Maya Patel was already preparing for the next phase. The prototype ships designed for deep space exploration incorporated everything they'd learned from the Asteri, plus uniquely human innovations. Their crews would be the first to set foot in regions of space untouched for millions of years. The quantum shielding is holding at 98% efficiency, she reported to her team, a mix of human and Asteri scientists. The temporal stabilizers are performing beyond expectations. One of the Asteri, their crystalline form glowing with excitement, transmitted a thought. You knew about these artifacts before you came to our defense, didn't you? Maya's expression remained professional, but her eyes sparkled. Let's just say humanity has always taken a special interest in exploring the unknown. Having friends who understand the fundamental nature of reality just makes it easier. Back in the assembly hall, the debate raged on. Some species argued that allowing humans such unprecedented access was too risky. Others saw an opportunity to benefit from whatever discoveries were made. The Asteri representatives, understanding at last the full scope of human ambition, found themselves admiring the elegance of the strategy. Ambassador Chen watched it all unfold exactly as planned. Humanity had protected the Asteri not just out of altruism or for their scientific knowledge, but because they needed allies who could help them reach for something greater. The debt they were owed was just leverage to achieve their true goal, pushing beyond the boundaries of known space. As the collective's members argued amongst themselves, Chen shared a knowing look with his sister. The Asteri debt had never been about military victory or technological exchange. It was about earning the right to dream bigger than anyone else in the galaxy dared. And humanity was just getting started. Unintended consequences. The first precursor artifact was discovered 3 months after the collective granted humanity's request. Deep in unexplored space, beyond the quantum interference fields that had deterred previous expeditions, the TNS Horizon made contact with something that defied conventional understanding. Captain Maria Santos stood in her ship's observation deck, watching as teams of human and Asteri researchers carefully approached the massive structure. It resembled a perfect dodecahedron, each face covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Energy readings are off the charts. her science officer reported. The artifact appears to be generating its own space-time bubble. The Asteri lead researcher, whose crystalline form pulsed with excitement, transmitted their analysis. The mathematical principles at work here. They make our most advanced theories look primitive. What they discovered inside the artifact changed everything. The precursors hadn't vanished. They had evolved. The structure contained records of their transformation from physical beings into entities of pure energy and thought. More importantly, it contained the blueprints for technology that could reshape the fundamental forces of the universe. News of the discovery spread rapidly through galactic society, causing upheaval in unexpected ways. Some species demanded access to the findings, claiming they were the heritage of all sentient life. Others began quietly preparing for war, fearing what humanity might do with such power. In the diplomatic wing of Earth's primary space station, Ambassador Chen faced a barrage of demands and threats from various galactic factions. The collective cannot allow one species to monopolize such discoveries, the Zenthar High Mediator insisted during an emergency session. Chen's response was measured but firm. We're not monopolizing anything. We're exploring with our Asteri partners, just as agreed. The fact that we've succeeded where others failed doesn't change the terms of our arrangement. But privately, human leadership grappled with the implications of their success. Each new artifact they discovered revealed more about the precursors' journey from physical to energy beings. The technology they were uncovering wasn't just advanced, it was transformative. Dr. Maya Patel, now heading the Joint Human Asteri Research Team, began noticing something peculiar in their findings. The precursors didn't just leave these artifacts as historical records. She explained to Admiral Chen during a secure briefing. They're more like signposts, tests, even. Tests for what? The Admiral asked. For species ready to take the next step in evolution. The revelation sparked intense debate among Earth's leadership. Humanity had sought the artifacts hoping to gain technological advantages, but instead they'd found something far more profound, a possible path to transcendence. The Asteri, with their deep understanding of energy and consciousness, were equally fascinated by the implications. Their partnership with humanity had evolved far beyond a simple debt of protection. Together, they were unraveling mysteries that neither species could have approached alone. But not everyone celebrated their progress. The Kritak, having rebuilt their forces, began probing the defenses of human and Asteri space. Other species, worried about the shifting balance of power, started forming new alliances. Admiral Chen watched the tactical displays showing movement of various fleets with growing concern. They're preparing for war, she concluded during a joint session with human and Asteri leadership. Her brother, the ambassador, nodded grimly. They fear what we might become. The question is, do we share our discoveries to maintain peace, or do we continue following the precursor's path, wherever it leads? Dr. Patel finished. The answer came from an unexpected source. The Asteri eldest, their energy form shimmering with intensity, shared a vision of possibility. Perhaps this was always meant to be. Not just humanity's rise, or our protection, but a convergence, a partnership that could guide both our species towards something greater. As the human leadership absorbed these words, reports arrived of new artifacts being discovered, each more extraordinary than the last. Humanity had sought to collect a debt and gain advantage. Instead, they had stumbled upon a heritage meant for all sentient life, if they were brave enough to claim it. The galaxy watched and waited, wondering what humanity would do with their newfound power. But in the secure chambers of Earth's strategic command, plans were already being made. Humanity hadn't come this far to stop now. The long game. 5 years after the discovery of the first precursor artifact, humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine not just their future, but potentially the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. The combined human Asteri research fleet had uncovered dozens of artifacts, each one bringing them closer to understanding the precursor's transformation. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, a body that hadn't existed before humanity's rise to prominence. The chamber, built using principles learned from precursor architecture, seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We've called this session," she began, "because humanity has made a decision about the future of our discoveries." The assembled representatives shifted nervously. The past 5 years had seen the balance of power in the galaxy transform dramatically. Human Asteri innovations had revolutionized everything from space travel to energy production. Some species had sought alliance, others had planned for war, but none had anticipated what came next. "We're releasing all of our findings," Chen announced. "Every discovery, every technology, every insight into the precursor's path. We're making it available to any species willing to join what we're calling the Ascension Initiative." The chamber erupted in chaos. The Zenthar High Mediator's scales flashed through a rainbow of colors. "You would simply give away such power." Ambassador James Chen stepped forward to stand beside his sister. "Not give away. Share. The precursors left these artifacts for all of us. They weren't just showing us how they transformed. They were showing us how we could join them." Dr. Maya Patil activated a holographic display showing the latest data from their research. The transformation the precursors underwent isn't just possible for one species. It's a natural evolutionary step for all sentient life. But it requires cooperation on a scale never before achieved in our galaxy. The Asteri eldest, now a permanent member of the Council, added their perspective. "When humanity came to our defense years ago, we thought they were simply being noble. When they declined traditional repayment in favor of exploration rights, we thought they were being strategic. Now we understand. They were following an instinct that all of us should have recognized." The truth hit home. Humanity hadn't just been collecting on a debt or seeking power. They had been pushing the entire galaxy toward a revelation that no single species could have reached alone. The Asteri's theoretical understanding, combined with human practical innovation and sheer determination, had unlocked secrets meant for all sentient life. In orbit above Earth, the first test of the new unified technologies was about to begin. Ships representing 20 different species, their crews linked through a combination of Asteri consciousness sharing and human neural interfaces, prepared to attempt something unprecedented: a controlled transformation of matter into energy, and energy into something beyond. Admiral Chen watched the preparations from the council chamber. "We protected the Asteri because it was right," she said softly, "but also because we sensed they held part of the key to something greater. Every step since then, the debt, the exploration, the discoveries, has been leading us here." The Kritak representative, their species having finally recognized the futility of military action, spoke for many. "But why share these discoveries? Why not keep the power for yourselves?" Ambassador Chen smiled. "Because the precursors left us more than technology. They left us a choice: evolve together, or remain forever separate and stagnant. Humanity chose cooperation over dominance, understanding over power." Dr. Patel's voice came through the chamber's communication system. "The first transformation test is ready to begin. All participating species report ready." As the council watched, the combined fleet began to glow with energy that defied traditional physics. The precursor's final message became clear: transcendence wasn't meant for one species, but for all who were willing to take the leap together. Humanity had been offered a debt and turned it into a doorway. They had been given power and transformed it into partnership. In doing so, they had achieved something far greater than mere galactic dominance. They had shown the way forward for all sentient life. The debt had been paid not in resources or technology, but in the currency of evolution itself. And as the first waves of transformation swept through the gathered ships, humanity's long game was finally revealed. They had never been playing for power, but for the future of all conscious beings. In the end, they had given the galaxy something far more valuable than protection or technology. They had given it purpose.